Lynda Kiejko. I'm the volunteer president of the Alberta Handgun Association. I'm also a current national team member in the pistol shooting team. I've recently returned from representing Canada at the Pan American Games, and this was my third time representing Canada at the Pan Am Games. I'm a three-time Pan Am Games medalist. I'm a Commonwealth Games medalist, and I'm also a two-time Olympian in pistol shooting. Both my father and one of my sisters are also Olympians in pistol shooting sports. Target shooting is one of the most inclusive lifelong sports in the world, and one Canadians should consider valuable. Target shooting sports provides a level playing field that no other sport really provides. All people, all body shapes, all genders, able body, otherwise, it doesn't matter. We can all compete shoulder to shoulder against each other on a level playing field. The limitations that C21 now presents and some of the rules that have been created, they create issues specifically for me and for athletes, future athletes like me. If my gun becomes broken, I can no longer acquire parts. I can't have warranty work done outside the country. I have no access to new firearms and the latest models with which to compete on the international scene. And the delay on import and export licenses is significantly a concern. I already currently have to bite my nails waiting to receive my export permits when I get named to a team with less than 6 weeks departure. I received my export permit for the Pan American Games after I actually arrived at the airport to depart for the games. It's caused me excess stress leading up to the games. It did nothing to improve your safety over top of the existing regulations that are already in place. And it only really impacted me and nobody else. I have at least two teammates who are currently struggling with acquiring new firearms. One firearm was ordered before the handgun freeze was put into place, and it was issued. And my understanding is it's still sitting in import purgatory. And one has been trying to move through the regulations as they sit today to acquire a new firearm under the regulations that has been introduced to the market after the handgun freeze was put in place. And more than a year later, both these individuals do not have the required equipment in their hands to participate in their events. By removing the ability to enter the sport, new shooters are struggling to acquire the equipment to participate. C21 is requiring athletes to prove they're training for the Olympics before they even start into the event. It makes no sense. Athletes rarely start off a new sport with the sole purpose of making the Olympics. Sport is intended to promote activity for life. Why are we putting such an additional pressure on the shooting sports only to produce Olympians? Participation in other shooting sports provides an avenue to enter into the International Sport Shooting Federation, which is the ISSF events. It covers a greater opportunity for competition than just Olympic events. There are more events within the ISSF World Championship that are contested at the Olympic Games. C21 removes the option to compete at an international competitions just because the Olympic Games has now a limited subset of what the ISSF covers.
Yeah.
This doesn't
Ms.
take into
Kiejko,
account...
excuse me, could
Yes.
you just slow it down a little bit to help us with translation?
I'm very sorry.
That's all right, thank you.
Very sorry. Yep, I will. This also doesn't take into account any of the other international bodies that are also handgun events. C21 would limit the ability to take an RPAL course, required to own a handgun, and any ability to acquire a handgun, ranges qualified to shoot a handgun, and the list keeps going on. For what? What goal is being achieved by the regulations of C21? My guns and those of my teammates are not the guns we're trying to remove from the streets. Our guns have never been on the streets. These regulations are impacting me directly and doing nothing for illegal guns, nothing for violent crime, nothing for public safety. C21 has a pretense of doing something while doing nothing productive. I have been competing in pistol shooting for 31 years. I have been part of the national team for the better part of 24 years. I became an Olympian 7 years ago. Without all of the training leading up to my first Olympic Games, I would not have become an Olympian. And what happens if I retire from my sport? Will you confiscate my firearm? Would you confiscate a swimmer's swimsuit? What about a soccer player's ball? What about a tennis player's racket? Where is the recreational element for shooters? Olympians come out to participate after their rigorous training is done is part of the motivation for future athletes. By requiring the Olympic or Paralympic discipline as the only valid sport to train, compete, or coach that have the equipment to take part, there's a significant restriction on future athletes. Sport matters. Target shooting is a sport for life, and with the current C21, you are taking away from Canadians without significant impact on violent crime. As the sedent, I implore you to include all pistols commonly used in ISSF disciplines, the World Championship sports, and add participation in organized target shooting sports to the training and competition section. This should not be just restricted to the Olympic or Paralympic disciplines. There is a lot of other disciplines with which we actually collect people to go to the Olympics. Other events as such as IPSC, that they have their own international sport federation.
Ms. Kiejko.
I implore you to look at the other ones.
I'm afraid.
Thank you very much.
But thank you. Thanks so much. I'm sorry to have interrupted you again.